Okay, so give you just like a moment here. Wait, no, that's not the right title. Dang it. This is what I get. I had my title all set up for paper cuts, and it's not paper cuts right now. I'm not reading. This is tabletop tinkering. Trying something new with the titles here. We'll see if it does anything interesting. This is what I get for not setting my titles. Gosh dang it. We're playing. What are we playing tonight? We are playing Archived. No, no, no. I'm not playing talk shows and podcasts. No, I'm not playing talk shows and podcasts. I'm playing tabletop RPGs today. Casual playthrough. Yeah, sure. All of those tags are technically accurate. God dang it. This is what I get for not setting my... I was like, oh man, I have a really cute title plan for paper cuts. Uh, anyway. I need to post about this in several Discords. I'm just gonna... No, I'm gonna keep talking while I do this. I just need to yell in like 2 or 3 Discords that have a promotion channel. But I'm very excited about what we're playing tonight. This is gonna be a bit of a shorter stream. I can't even say it wrong. Uh, this is gonna be a bit of a shorter stream than Paper Cuts usually is. Uh, just because I want something that's a little easier to drop in on. Paper Cuts is 4 hours long, and if you haven't caught up, and you don't know where we are in the book, it's kind of intimidating. So I get it. So I'm gonna be doing something at some other point during the week, probably now-ish. Oh, because my partner has class right now, so that gives me some free time to myself that I am not I don't feel like I'm, blowing any of my time that I get with my partner. So, you know. Anyway, I digress. I think I've posted in all the servers I post in. This one. I almost forgot this one. I think there are several people in that particular Discord I just posted in that will be interested. Um yeah, okay. That's my posts. Let me just activate the kettle. Activate the kettle, switch to the stream layout that I want. This one. Uh, is everything where it needs to be? I think everything's where it needs to be. Okay. We are going to be playing a new game called Archived. I don't know how new it is functionally. Oh, I forgot to set up some things with the Stream Elements bot. It's fine. I'm wearing a jacket because it's been chilly lately and I have no sense of cold. So I need to wear a jacket in case I'm secretly freezing to death and don't notice it. But we're gonna be playing Archived. It is about essentially. Let me read you the little welcome blurb from the page here. Archived is a solo storytelling game played from the viewpoint of an article found at the library, a text or other important material that patrons come to learn from. You'll create an article, describe it in some detail, and then tell your story through the few and infrequent encounters you have with patrons. Some seek to learn from you, others wish to employ you for selfish purposes, but each allows you to contribute to the larger world for a brief time. Then you're reshelved, put back to wait years or more before the next patron seeks you out. So that's the game in a nutshell. We won't be needing any dice this evening, I don't think. Yeah, all we need is the rules, something to write on. Write on. The stream counts as writing on things, right? Now that I've hit record, it's writing to disk. We're fine. I'm still salty, by the way. The first time I did one of these things, I forgot to hit record, and we'll never have it, and it makes me sad. Yeah, something to write with, something to write on, something to keep time. I've got a clock. Oh, achoo! Sorry, one of my cats sneezed. Somewhere quiet to experience, and some time to play. Well, we've got all those things. So, once the kettle clicks off, we will make ourselves some nice comfortable tea, and then we'll begin. We'll begin by actually starting playing the game. While we wait, did I forget to do anything? I feel like I'm forgetting something. Did I announce this in all the Discords? Let me check my Discord, because that's the one I forget the most. Nope. So, we are brain loading. I yelled about this on Twitter. I yelled about this in the Discords. I think that's everywhere. God dang it. I'm opening my phone to man, did I forget to do something? And, noticing 4 other people I follow are streaming tonight. I may have to pick a different night. We'll see. Sorry, the kettle is taking its sweet time over there. While we wait, I'm gonna stand up. And I'm gonna keep talking, and hopefully you can hear me. Oh yeah, you can hear me. The captions are going off. I'm gonna take a tea over here. Let's see. Ooh, actually, we could share this to the chat. So, decaf options only, because it's evening, you know? Well, it's evening for me. I don't know what time it is for you. I feel like I have one more decaf option. Oolong, avocado green tea. Okay, unless I have a decaf option hiding in these many little ones. And we have these two for options. Let's double check the little ones here. That's decaf, yeah. So we'll put this in the pile of teas we might get to pick. Caffeine. My chai actually might be low enough caffeine that it won't matter, but I don't have a lot of that. Also, unrelated, I'm putting this out into the world. If someone can find me more of this in particular, please send me an email, post a comment, do something to get the link in my hands. I want this tea so bad. I had it 2 times from this Tea of the Month club, and I cannot find it. I found the supplier, this Outtro, but I cannot. The website is in Japanese, and the Google Translate can only get me so far in trying to find what I want. So, again, for those of you who can't see the screen, Yomogi by Outtro. If any of you can find this tea and send me a link where I can purchase it, please reach out. It is hands down one of my favorite teas I have ever had, and I have enjoyed it immensely, and I miss it a lot. The kettle is approaching its intended state here. So, we've got citrus mint licorice, we've got prickly pear, and we've got Dr. Jekyll. If anyone is in chat that wants to have opinions on what I'm drinking this evening, feel free. While the kettle comes up to temperature. Don't mind me. I'm just over here. But how have y'all's evenings been? How was your weekend? I was big busy this weekend. I double-checked all my old hard drives. Oh, hello, Oriana. Thank you for the lurk. Very, very much appreciated. Always love a little extra set of background eyes. Yeah, but how's y'all's weekend? I spent my weekend painstakingly backing up my computer because just chilling tonight, but wanted to stop by and say hi. Always happy to have you here. I'm slightly off camera because I'm waiting for my kettle to boil. But yeah, I backed up my computer for capital R reasons, TM. I cannot have my heaters and my computer running at the same time. So backing up my computer turned into hide under the heated blanket from the cold while my computer spins across the room. That was the whole process. But it's done now. I don't have to do it for another month, and hopefully hopefully by the end of February I will be out of the situation that requires me to not have my heaters and my computer on at the same time. Who knows? But I also checked all my backup drives from previous years, and they're all good. Knocking on wood there. But they were all good when I checked them, so we'll see if that holds for another year. I check them once a year, because that's the recommended amount of time. That was my weekend in a nutshell, I think. I don't think I missed anything. While I've been rattling here, I have decided that I want citrus mint licorice tea this fine evening, because it's good. And I like Dr. Jekyll a lot, but I've had it relatively recently, so I want to make sure I'm not getting the same thing over and over. Yeah. Where's my teaspoon? This is not actually a teaspoon by measure. It's a titanium spork that I got in high school because I thought it was haha funny joke, but then I'm like, wow, this is actually a good spoon. So we're gonna have this citrus mint licorice vibe this fine evening while we sit here and pretend to be an article sitting on a shelf. Genuinely, I read the synopsis for this game and went, I have to have this game. like I read the synopsis and I was immediately entranced by the concept of this. This is actually... I don't have the link on hand. I might be able to get it. But this is actually from a bundle of games of a similar type. Solo RPGs. That, much like last time I bought a big bundle of games, I'm gonna promote that a little bit. Plus it gives me more fodder for the picks from the bundle playlist, which has been relatively popular on YouTube. Anyway, we've got about 5 minutes on that while it steeps. Let me grab the link to that bundle real quick. Just gotta grab it out of my email and post it in chat, and then I will read the name of the bundle. Oh, we have a couple people to thank for joining the Igloo. I think we already thanked Play Carrington. Vibes with Boots and Kibo3, welcome to the Igloo. Happy to have you. Yeah, the bundle is called Solo But Not Alone. Solo But Not Alone 2, rather. So let me grab the link on that. Solo But Not Alone 2 itch.io. Here we go. This is a big bundle of big bundle of games that you minimum payment is $10 for $407 worth of game. I paid a little more than that because I am in a position to be able to do that, but you know, $10 is $10. Stream manager, that's what I want. Pasta the link here. I'm one of the like 2 or 3 people that can post links. That's the link to the bundle. itch.io/b/1227/ solo but not alone -2. If you're watching the VOD, I promise that link will be in the description. So you don't have to manually type out the URL that I've just read on screen like it's 1996. I forgot to set a timer for this. It's been 2 minutes according to my thing that tells me how long I've been streaming. So we will set a timer for 3 minutes and then we will have our tea completed. I may not have a mug. That will very rapidly become a problem. Let's see, I have... So 2 of my mugs are in the dishwasher. I may have a 3rd mug hiding. Oh, this is why I should have checked if I had mugs before I made tea, large brain. We may have to drink this out of a plastic cup instead of a mug. We don't! Success! I have 1 more mug. It's a cute one. Can you tell I'm very prepared? Oh, no, it's okay, Magnus. I hope you guys got to see Magnus when he jumped up there. That's always pleasant. But I have this cute mug. It says all you need is love and a cat, because sometimes you just need some pithy mug saying mugs, you know? Well, while we wait for this to steep, let's go over the rules a little bit. The first step in this story we're going to tell is the creation of the article. Read through the article section and choose one that is most interesting to you. Now, I've already read through the article section. I know which one I'm going to pick, but I will read the titles at you. Then answer the questions presented about your creator, add as much or as little detail as you want, always considering how these facts affect your relationship to your creator. Next, you choose 3 traits from the list, or make your own. These describe you as an article, either literally or metaphorically. These are all true of you at the beginning of the game, but are likely to change over time. And now that you have an idea of what you are, describe the library where you currently reside. Again, use as much or as little detail as you want here, focusing on how you perceive it. Finally, read over the article questions. Don't answer them yet. You'll be instructed when to address these questions during play. When you're finished, review the article you created and fill in any additional details that you want. It's perfectly fine to not have the entire picture just yet. You'll explore your existence through play, and facets of you will certainly change throughout the course of the story. So, I'm thinking, just in the back of my brain, that I want to kind of wrench this into being a D&D supplement. I've mentioned a few treatises on magic here and there in passing in my D&D games. I want to not have to improvise those as much. So, our tea is ready. Let me see if I can pour this while continuing to speak. Who knows if I can. But I want to improvise those articles a little less. I want to have something that relatively easily I can just be like, oh yeah, this article, it has all this story thing. How it is up to me how much I want, how much of that I want to mention in game. I'm also putting a coaster underneath my mug. Ooh, I did this backwards. I need to move you guys. Everybody hold your breath real quick. We're gonna move. Everybody's thinking, what do you mean hold your breath? We're about to go on a thrill ride. Everybody hold your breath, cross your ears, cover your eyes. I definitely didn't get that backwards. Now we're over here. Look at there. Was that so bad? Someone in the chat's like, oh god, that was awful. Why did you do this to me? Someone in chat is me. I would not have liked being picked up like that. My immersion. Oh god, put me back in. You know. But we have tea now. Sorry, I just realized I need to put my tea down the table from my computer, so if it spills, it doesn't spill. I should have thought of that before the stream, but I didn't. So we will pull the tea leaves out of the tea. Well, those aren't tea leaves, they're just herbs, but you know, same thing. Okay. I am going to have chat open on my phone because I am not going to see a lot of chat with the way I'm reading these rules. So if you'll give me just a moment to do that. Is my sound okay, by the way? I'm always a little nervous about that. I cannot check my sound without headphones, and my headphones are in my car, which is currently in the Shadow Realm. So, if my sound is a little spicier than it should be or something, feel free to let me know. Okay, have chat open. We can play the game now. All right, let's create an article. Wait, before we create an article, there's some additional rules I forgot to read. Large brain. Acts, turns, patrons, and time. The game is played over the course of 3 acts, each of which is made up of 2 turns. Each act represents a different stage in your existence. Important spans of time punctuated by experiences shared with the people who come to find you in the library. These people are called patrons. That's still a little hot. During a turn, you will choose 1 patron to encounter and 1 span of time to wait until the next arrives. These choices will prompt you with statements and questions about your experiences, which you should answer as fully as you can. After completing 2 turns, the act's over. Move on to the next act, begin another turn, using new patrons and time provided. After the 3rd act, you have an epilogue to finish your story. All pretty sensible. You begin a turn by choosing a patron. There are 2 prompts to address for each. Then you choose 1 option from a patron table found in the back of the book. These are deeds, actions, outcomes that you experience with the patron. Each of these options will have additional prompts, then ask you to change something about yourself. Change lets you add, remove, or modify things like traits, a detail about your appearance, a detail about the world, or a response to one of your article questions. When asked to make a change, you can change one of those things, or more of those things if it makes sense with the way things have gone. You can also choose to make a change anytime during your story if you feel like it makes sense. After you've done the patron prompts, the things from the patron table, and made a change, you answer one of your unanswered article questions. Consider the answer in the terms of the recent patron and experience you had together. I think, last but not least, in taking a turn, there's the concept of time. After you've addressed all the prompts associated with the patron, you return to the library to wait. Choose one of the options for the act. This option will tell you how much time passes in the story, as well as how long you should wait before moving on to the next patron. This is real-world time. It's meant to give you a sense of isolation and loneliness that the article is experiencing, left on a shelf without agency or experience. Some time options will also instruct you to choose an option from one of the timetables. They're things that happen around you, usually to the library or the world at large. Sometimes these are set in place by your patron. Other times, they're just things that happen. The options for the amount of time increases as you play the game, but ultimately the span of your story is up to you. You can have a fast and frantic life over the course of a few years, or a slow and lethargic narrative spanning centuries or more. As with all aspects of this game, use your intuition and judgment to make the most interesting choices for our story. Okay, now that we've gotten all of the rules out of the way, here are our article types. There is the novel. There is the reference item. There is the memoir. There is the map. There is a specimen, like a scientific specimen. There's art. And that's it. So I am gonna go with for this time, maybe we'll play more than once. Who knows? I have no idea how long this is going to take me. We are going to go with a reference item this time because we're playing it in this context of my D&D setting. Well, a reference item could be a treatise on magic. So, reference. You were written by a prolific academic. Describe them. How respected were they in their field of study? Who were you intended to instruct or educate? So, I'm going to keep their name a secret. Well, actually, I'm going to keep their last name a secret. Just in case my D&D players happen to be watching. Hello everyone who plays with me. I hope you're having a good evening. But I'm going to keep their last name a secret, but their first name is Karsus. Describe them. He's a relatively tall human man. He's kind of got a salt and pepper beard going on. He's got streaks of gray in his hair. Whether that's from how old he is or how much stress he's put on himself in his life, it's not exactly clear. He is very proud of the fact that he's a prominent academic wizard. So much so that he wears the traditional, garb you receive, marking you as a high-level wizard from this wizard college, Anchime, all the time. He wears that and things based on it just because he's very proud of his status as a very accomplished wizard. He is studying the effects and the production of high-level spells. What are high-level spells? Anything above 9. Because temporally this is something that his research sphere focuses on that, because they're possible at the time he exists. But I won't dive too far into the mechanics of that. Anyway, he's relatively respected. Some people think he's a bit of a crackpot to try and discover more 10th and 11th level spells. It's a very narrow field of research that a lot of people avoid because it's very dangerous and very difficult. And me. So that's Karsus in a nutshell. Me, as a reference item, I'm going to say that I am a chunk of his notes. So, me as a reference item, I was intended to instruct or educate any apprentices that Karsus would take on. Whether he actually manages to take on any apprentices, that's something we're going to find out this evening. But I am a set of reference notes based on what he's been building. So I get to choose 3 traits from the list, or write my own. Foundational, innovative, respected, ethical, controversial, comprehensive, specific, instructional, radical, logical, derivative, dull, experimental, hopeful, apathetic, dense, disorganized, incomplete, or frantic. Disorganized, obviously. He's an academic wizard. Wizards are already known for having chaos piles of notes that only they can read. So it's very disorganized. It's very, very radical. He's trying to do something that he really should not be in the larger span of things. So me as notes, I am telling you how to do things that you should not be doing. So we are disorganized, we are radical, and I'm going to say, I'm going to pick another one. I'm going to pick dangerous. That's not on that list. I'm picking dangerous as my 3rd trait. So let's write those down so I don't forget them. Our traits are dangerous. Our traits, in no particular order, might I add, are dangerous, disorganized, and radical. So we gotta keep those in mind. And then we describe the library where we are housed. How did we come to reside here? Okay, so we are in the archive of Anchime. It is a sprawling library, and it was designed from the ground up to be uh, to be a very aesthetically pleasing place to be, because the people designing the city of Anchime knew that it was going to be a sort of intellectual focus for wherever it is. And so they designed the library to be very pleasant to be in, both aesthetically and logically. The library is layered, so to speak, and it has a sort of rounded shape, with a little bit of a tail at the bottom. For those of you anatomically minded, it almost looks like a brain. Like if you were to zoom out on the blueprints of this building, it looks like someone took a brain scan and made it into a set of floors and rooms. So, and it's very, very lavishly decorated, and there are books everywhere. Whoever is on staff is, as research staff, is required by terms of their contract, if they want to continue getting research funding as a wizard. And research funding is very important if you're a wizard, for crying out loud. Spell components are expensive. So if you want to continue acquiring your research funding, you have to submit copies of your notes periodically to the archive. And so that's what we are. We are fabricated duplicates of Karsus's spell notes. And that's why we're here. We need to be here because of the rules of the location we're in. When the time comes, answer these article questions. I will remember this page. Remember, page 19 is where our article questions are. Page 19 is where our article questions are, and I will write that down, and we'll come back to those later. I'm going to save those as a surprise. Okay, we have decided upon our article type and our traits. So now we dive into chapters. Chapter 1, Acquisition. Choose a keeper from below and address the prompts. Then choose one from the patron tables and address those prompts. Lastly, answer one of your article questions as your keeper returns you to the library. So we have options here. A new library assistant on their first day is keeping us, or a tenured and strict librarian is keeping us, or an old and respected patron, or an anxious student working on a project. I think it's most accurate here to have an anxious student working on a project discover us. They are approaching their Clockmaster Grandia. Well, let's read the questions before we start answering things, sir. Describe how the outcome of their project will affect the rest of their life, and how do we contribute to their work? Okay. You'll have to excuse my loud sipping. I am very loud when I drink things, and my sincerest apologies upon your ears. Describe how the outcome of their project will affect the rest of their life. So they are an anxious student. They are coming up on their own personally set deadline to take the Clockmaster Grandia exam. The Clockmaster Grandia exam is essentially ascending to level 20 as a wizard. Each level as a wizard is reflected in a level of the curriculum at Anchime. And so there is no set deadline, but the longer you spend there, the more it costs you, just like any other college. So they are coming up on a personal deadline. They told their parents, this anxious student told their parents, I will not take more than 20 years to do this. And that's a really short time for anyone to be ascending that quickly. Sure, they came in with a few wizard levels here and there, and some of their credits transferred, so they have a little bit of a head start, but that's a lot of pressure, and their deadline is coming up. They have 6 months left, and they are horrified that they will not be able to submit their treatise on the function of the weave and how it can affect and afflict the way that you're casting spells. Usually the texture of the weave is not a problem, but it has been known to occasionally cause issues, especially when you're around someone casting wild magic. So they are studying the texture of the weave, and they need to submit a treatise on this that adds new detail that is unknown normally. And so they are sifting through the archive, and they find us, Karsus's spell notes. They find essentially just a pile of paper, just basically unlabeled, on a random shelf, and it is technically where it needs to be. We are, shelved amongst the various faculty notes, but that is not categorized very well. You have to know whose faculty notes you're essentially, yeah, you gotta know your faculty notes. You gotta know the faculty to know the faculty notes. So they have no idea whose notes they pick up. They just see a giant pile of, like, loose scrolls and random spell scrolling, and they pick us up and they go, I have no idea what to do with this, but I need something. So they start sifting through us, and they find relatively quickly, hang on, I'm making sure that there's not a table at the back of the book that we need to look at. They find relatively quickly that we are entirely unlike what, there's an achievements in progress table. See, this is why I went and checked. So we need to, how do we affect their progress here? Choose an option from these questions. I'm not going to read all these questions. They will make everything take forever, but they find us. And they're like, I need something from here. And how do we affect them? Achieves a breakthrough that forever changes their field. No, that would be Karsus making the breakthrough because it's his notes. Your patron sees a new facet of their being in you. Your patron unravels a mystery thought to be unsolvable. Your patron becomes your foremost scholar. Your patron discovers a secret about you. Your patron continues the work first started by your creator. Okay, let's say... See, what just happened right there is exactly why I moved y'all at the beginning of the stream. I just spilled some tea all over the table. Spill my tea. Large brain. But that, my dear viewers, is exactly why I moved the computer, because if I had not moved the computer, you all would be swimming in tea right now. So, saved. So, we're going to say that this young, relatively young student searching for some inspiration for their Clockmaster Grandia exam discovers a secret about us. How does this information change how you and others view yourself? They discover they're looking through the notes, they're looking through us, and they discover suddenly, all at once, it is revealed to them that what Karsus is working on could change the fabric of reality. Especially if he does it wrong. And this student has us under their arm and walks up to Karsus and approaches him to say, like, Sir, are you aware what you're going to do could cause several horrible things? And Karsus kind of hand waves it. He's like, no. I'm sorry, that's not his voice. No. Everything's fine. I haven't done anything yet because I'm working on mitigating the issues. I see why you're concerned. Don't worry. And he kind of ruffles their hair, and the student looks very annoyed about that. I see why you see there's a problem there. I completely understand. I'm working on mitigating the issues. And that dismissal really upsets this student. And it really upsets the student, and they go on to just badmouth Karsus and his notes. They go on to say, well, well, what is he working on? Well, it's never gonna work. It's gonna break in 1,000 ways before he even finishes reading the first scroll. Uh, and this sort of bad mouthing, uh, ironically, takes them, ironically gets them, some inspiration for their particular project. They realize that, uh, negative emotion in large enough quantity can actually measurably affect the weave. Now, sure, it doesn't do anything if you're just a little miffed with your partner or something, but, if you are experiencing, you know, for example, Karsus's massive loss of credibility among his peers, that's devastating to an academic like him, and that devastates the way that his spells swing when they go wrong. So, as they have finally, they've submitted their dissertation, and they are now awaiting the true test to become a Clockmaster Grandia, and they return us to the shelf. They try to collate us a little more, try and organize us a little bit, and I don't know what it does. Let's look at our article questions. Not a memoir, but a reference. Over time, you become well known. What do you know about how do you feel about your patrons? All the people you were once used to contradict a widely held belief. Question you could only answer. You outlived your creator and many of those you encountered. Okay, I think the most applicable is over time you became well known in certain circles for better or for worse. We become well known. We, as Karsus's research notes, become well known in many circles as just gobbledygook, just worthless. Like, is so incomprehensibly difficult to read that we wasted 3 months of a student's remaining 6 months of time here. That we were so disorganized and absurd to read that it took them forever to figure out what was wrong. And that bad mouthing really cements our reputation as you don't go using Karsus's reference notes as something important unless you're really up against the wall. Okay, that is. I think we need to do that twice for a turn. Yes, and then we do time. Oh, after each patron we do time. Choose a time below to wait before another finds you. Uh, I think. I think it's about a month. I think it's about a month before another student happens upon us. And so that says we're going to wait for 20 seconds. So a month passes starting now. It's good tea. Um, so a month has passed. This person has submitted their dissertation based on the effects of negative emotion upon the localized weave. Their dissertation actually gets shelved next to us, which I think I think startles the next person to find us because there's this well researched, well thought out dissertation sitting next to some crackpot's notes, some crackpot's pile of scrolls that half the spells in there aren't bookended correctly, and it really startles the next person to find us. Hang on. Actually, we'll wait on that. Before I start the next half of this teapot, I think I will do that next time we have to wait. So the next person to find us, we do one more patron for this chapter. Choose one from the patron. Yeah, so who finds us next? I think out of the four we've mentioned earlier, I think a new library assistant on their first day comes upon us, and they are very confused to find us. Describe what drew them to the profession. A new library assistant. This person came to Anchime. Let's say their name is. I'm bad at names. Never mind. They don't have a name. They're faceless. We don't know their name. We're a document. They don't say their name around us. This new library assistant rolls up and is actually one of their first tasks of the day is shelving this new dissertation next to us. And they look very confused as they set this dissertation next to us, next to us, this giant pile of scrolls and nonsense that continues to expand month by month. And they look very confused. Part of why they became an archive tech here is just to try and make sense of other wizards' spells and notes and spellbooks, essentially. They wanted to find order among the chaos because they found, they originally came, like many people, to Anchime to further their academic understanding of magic. And they found that rather than approaching magic as an academic field, they found that they were just better off being able to organize and sort through other wizard spells. They found that they were better at organizing than actually casting. So they then made it their charge to bring order to the chaos that is this archive. For all its classification and rules and Dewey Decimal type things, half the time whatever's shelved is just a mess. So they pick us up and they kind of look at us, and it doesn't take them long after leafing through a little bit of us to find out like what we are. They almost immediately have the impression of, oh, this is that crackpot Karsus's notes. So they're very like, oh, okay, this is my first big challenge. How do we impact the rest of their career? I think their first big challenge, they are taking it on at the top. They want to reorganize us to make us not disorganized. And as they are searching, they find something. Maybe they don't find the same thing as the first person that found us. I think as as an article, we are used to being disorganized. It's one of our core traits, and we kind of resent this. We kind of resent this library, this archival assistant. For how do you feel about your patrons? Are they students, teachers, or something else? I think we grow to resent this particular archival assistant just because they're trying to organize something that's already organized. Sure, we don't make sense to the average person, but we're not supposed to make sense to the average person. We're not supposed to be a reference document for most people. We, as a set of notes, were written for Karsus and whoever he wants to teach something. And I think that resentment, even though we are not an embodied thing, magic can sometimes have a mind of its own. And I think that resentment comes through to the archival assistant who's trying to organize us, trying and trying and trying. And they find that something radical is being planned here. And they march up to Karsus once again with us under their arm. Like, I can't believe you're planning what you're planning. This is going to take 4 people and every ounce of magic they have, and potentially even more than that. Are you sure about what you're doing? This is absurdism. And Karsus again kind of waves his hand and, just dismisses the whole issue out of hand. He says it'll be done when it's done, and it's not done yet, so don't judge it yet. And the archival assistant kind of almost gives up. I think they just completely, give up. They just kind of tune out. They were so excited to bring order to the chaos that each individual wizard brings to their research notes here, and Karsus dismissing them out of hand for a valid understanding of his notes. It just makes them dejected. It makes them hate their job, and they spend the better part of their career just dejectedly shelving and pointing people in the right direction, and they don't make it much higher in the hierarchy. They are just a shelving assistant. They make enough gold to get by, and they make enough gold to cast the spells they want, but they don't like the end of their story. Choose one from the patron tables. Down to the patron table. Yeah, I think that answers one of the patron questions. Yeah, renown and notoriety, disrepair and mishandling, mistakes and misuse, achievements in progress. Yeah, we kind of discussed sees a new facet of their being in you. Yeah, they realize that they don't actually want what they thought they wanted, and it burns them out. They just sure, they're still doing their work, but they hate it. Anyway, that's pretty dour. Let's wait. So after all that, I think it's the better part of a decade. I think it's the better part of a decade before someone finds us. So we get to wait an entire minute. I'm not gonna sit here in silence for an entire minute, but we'll start the minute in about 10 seconds here. And I'll just discuss not story things. Yeah, starting now. They just, sorry, this is kind of very, you gotta know my brain and know what I'm talking about to do this, but we will definitely be coming back to archives again and again and again. This is a lot of fun. I think they could do to put the patron tables not at the end of the book. I think they could do to put the patron tables up front somewhere. Just, like this book is very nice. It's very well done, but I would say put the tables a little differently. That, or you can leave the tables where they are. Make each question type obvious, because how the patron questions are arranged is like, oh yeah, these types of questions, these types of questions, these types of questions, these types of questions. I've been having to guess. Put like in parentheses, in bold, behind the question, this is this question type. I may actually do that. I may actually annotate this thing somehow and do that. But it's been about a minute. We have sat for an entire decade on the shelf, not moving, gaining spells on spells on spells on spells on spells, we are now a much more prodigious document than when we first were entered into the when we first started telling this document's story. Karsus is approaching what he wants to be doing with this. And so now we enter chapter 2, circulation. Choose a keeper from below and address the prompts. The newly appointed head librarian, a young librarian with ulterior motives, a researcher who has been coming back for years, or a biographer profiling your creator. I think we're going to lead with a young librarian with ulterior motives. Describe what their secret goals are for working in the library, and how are you saved from being part of their plan. I think this is someone who went to a rival wizard college. Let's say, who would be real at this point in the setting? Let's say Curia. They went to a rival wizard school in Curia, and they want to know why Anchime's the bee's knees. Why are they so cool? It can't be just because they're a floating city. Like, what the heck? Why do they get all the cool stuff? So they join up onto the Anchime Library staff to try and suss out what's going on. Like, why do they have all this cool stuff? Why do they have so much cooler stuff than us? It can't be just that the city flies. Everybody knows how the city flies. Just nobody can take advantage of that themselves. Their ulterior secretive motive for studying anything they can find is to find out what gives Anchime its oomph. And they find us chilling on a shelf. We're dusty. It's been a decade. There's been books and scrolls and anything and everything circulated around us for the better part of this decade that we were sitting here, and we're just here. And we, as the research notes, know that Karsus is getting close to something. We can tell. And when this sneaky librarian finds this, their eyes light up. They are so, they've never seen anything like us before. They can sense how dangerous we are. How much damage we could do if anyone got a hold of this. Anyone who could do what they wanted. Do what Karsus is describing. How dangerous this could be. It could end not just the world, the plane. Several planes if you do it wrong. And they are so excited. No wonder Anchime has such an advantage over the rest of the world here. But how are we saved from being part of their plan? That's a question for the patron tables. Scroll down to the patron tables. Patron tables. Achievements in progress. That's not this question. Mistakes and misuse. Renown and notoriety. Disrepair and mishandling. Oh, that's a timetable option. Renown and notoriety is a timetable option. Mistakes and misuse is a patron table option. Okay, so mistakes and misuse. Let's say mistakes and misuse. They misuse us somehow, and that's how we don't get sucked into their plan. Your patron, ooh, I like this a lot. Your patron plagiarizes or copies the work of your creator. How does this work affect your sense of value? So this librarian, has us spread out all over their, essentially dormitory area. Wherever they're staying, wherever their apartment somewhere in Anchime, they have us spread out over the desk. And nobody notices that Karsus's notes are checked out, because he's using the original copy, and everybody thinks he's a crackpot. So nobody cares. But this librarian thinks they've cracked it. Thinks they've cracked us. They think that they can try and perform the radically dangerous task that Karsus has set himself using us. But they think they see a hole in his choices, and they patch that hole in a second copy of us. And before they try to do anything with that, they publish that patched version to an archive in Curia. And we see that happening. And we feel disgusted. That's not me. That's not who I am. That's not your work. You've stolen it. And now you're going to publish that stolen version of me, steal all of Karsus's credit, and potentially endanger the whole plane? But hey, it's not our fault if somebody misreads that copy and does something, right? It's not us that's being used to break things. It really makes us feel devalued until, well, I'll keep that a secret to myself. I'll keep that a secret for a later video when I'm explaining my setting, but it makes us feel devalued until something happens. Something big happens off camera that we don't see. Because we're a pile of scrolls. Nobody bothers to bring us to where it's happening. And we hear news of it, and we feel a little better about ourselves. But we still feel diminished, that we've been duplicated, and incorrectly at that. Okay. And then we wait a little time. I think I like this a lot. I think we wait a half century. And that's us waiting for 3 minutes. I think we wait a half century. Karsus, let's say Karsus. Karsus catches wind. Wait, no. A half century is too long for Karsus. A quarter century, that's 2 minutes, and that makes a little more sense. Karsus catches wind that his work has been stolen, and that is why that thing happened over there. And he is furious. He realizes that he has ample funds for what he wants to continue researching. He withdraws us from circulation in the library, and we sit on a shelf in his study somewhere for a quarter century, 25 years, unnoticed, unremarked upon. Everyone forgets about us for 25 years. So we're going to get to wait 20 minutes, or not 20 minutes, 2 minutes starting now. While we wait for 2 minutes, I'm going to make sure the kettle water is hot because I want tea. And I'm going to check in with y'all. Is this sensible? Is this only making sense to me, the person who knows all the details? Or are you guys following? I'm having a lot of fun. I'm enjoying myself a great deal. I really like this. I'm definitely playing this game again. Several times. And I'm definitely, I think this one is going to be the only recorded one where I focus on a thing from my D&D setting. I think future documents we can expand our horizons a little bit, get a little more intricate. a little more wild, a little more detailed and wacky about it. I think it's been about 2 minutes. Yeah, I think. Wait, no, we have a little longer. But I think I'm gonna keep playing this. This is great. I like this a lot. Despite the book being in a bit of an odd order, that's not that big of a problem because I'm using a digital copy. If I were physically flipping through a book, I might be a little annoyed. Uh, you know what would be even better is having the patron table and the timetable separated, like in a separate file that I can go to separately. Anyway, that's been our 2 minutes in about 1 second. There we go. That's been our 2 minutes. It has been 25 years. And sure, we've grown in volume a little bit, but nobody's noticed us. Until a biographer. Wait, no. I like this better. Until a researcher finds us. A researcher who has been coming back for years. They've been interested in what Karsus is doing in the same way that you're interested in, like, a conspiracy theorist. Like, what are they going to come up with next? Someone who is interested in Karsus had their attention shift for a little while, let's say. Sorry, I'm making more tea. Ooh, and I'm spilling hot water all over my table because I'm a little too eager in making my tea. But this person finally gets a little spare time and realizes, where are Karsus's research notes? They should be on file. They go hassle the Archmagus Grandi. That's not the correct name, but I don't remember the name for the heads of the university. If Archmagus Grandi is not correct, it is close. Anyway, the heads of the university, they go hassle the heads of the university because they're like, hey, where are Karsus's research notes? Is he not getting funding anymore? And the heads of the university go, yeah, he withdrew his notes at the cost of funding. He's still technically listed as research and development staff, but he has not interacted with any of his compatriots for the past 25 years, other than the 4 people that he had garnered as research assistants and fellow Grandia. And so that would be those 3 people rather. One of those people being Raz's character Alviana. And so this researcher who's been coming back for years, they have not engaged with us because we've been on a shelf in Karsus's study. And Karsus, after 25 years, realizes that he needs one last burst of research funding. And he successfully talks the heads of the university into giving him a little back pay. He talks, that disillusioned library, that disillusioned archives assistant. He claims that person is why his notes have not been on the shelf for the past 5 years, and he gets some back pay for that. And so this researcher essentially suddenly gains access to the last 25 years of Karsus's research notes, and they are profoundly changed by what they find. It takes them a long time of sorting through us, but we dramatically change the course of their work. And that's a patron question. Achievements in progress. Okay, continues the word secret about you. Your patron unravels a mystery thought to be unsolvable. What secret were you hiding that led to the solution? I like this a lot. I think in looking through us, Karsus did not solely focus on the ritual that he's designing in writing us. He gained larger understanding about the nature of why larger spells are harder to cast in the process, and gained an understanding of why the weave is structured the way it is. And this researcher who was previously just kind of humoring Karsus and his theories realizes that the structure of the weave is not so firm as anyone makes it out to be. This researcher, in reading us, realizes that sorcerers have an approach to magic that allows them to bend the rules because the weave is not so structured as we all make it out to be. Why can't I bend the rules? And they learn what eventually becomes a horribly forbidden technique because it causes more problems than it solves, and one that they have to unlock chemically, via potions and alchemy. They unlock the ability to treat the structure of the weave differently than the average wizard. Using us, they realize that the weave's sturdy structure of spell levels 1 to 9 can instead be conceptualized as levels of energy and effort that you're putting into something. It's been well known for many, many years that you can simply upcast a spell by putting more energy into it. They unlock through some dark alchemy that Karsus explored for a year and then abandoned because it didn't have what he wanted, that they can use these discrete levels of energy much more directly. Essentially, instead of having the spell slots that we're all used to in D&D, they unlock the ability to use spell points. Like, you glue 9 first level spell slots together to make a 9th level spell slot. And that flexible casting, it makes them famous among wizards. And for a time, before it's understood how damaging that is, for everyone involved, it becomes really popular. Speaking of damage, I forgot to pick one from the timetables. Timetable, disrepair and mishandling. That seems correct. You are handled too much or too often. How do you feel about the way you've been treated? I think it took this person a lot of tries, and they've been referencing and referencing and re-referencing that specific section of us that allows them to unlock the knowledge of spell points, and that damages that knowledge, and we feel greatly diminished by this. That's a part of us that is completely lost to time, other than to Karsus. And Karsus is never going to use that part of us. He knows it's not a good idea. But now the public is hurting themselves, and they have no idea how to fix it. Because the person who was looking at us over and over and over again, sometimes with fingers stained, black and purple and blue and bright red and 1,000 different colors from 1,000 different spell reagents, just completely ruined that section of us. And that the solution to being able to go back to the standard form of spellcasting and not harm yourself anymore is lost. just completely gone, you know? This person comes to Karsus and is like, hey, I need you to fix me. I'm dying. And Karsus, Karsus throws up his hands. He's like, I did not think anyone was going to find that. I left it alone because I knew it wasn't going to end well. You damaged the version of the notes that have the things I need to fix you. The original version of the notes, I have completely removed that section. I've just thrown those away because I knew I wasn't going to use it, and they're my notes. I didn't know that they were persistent in the copy. You have ruined the only option you have to save yourself. And eventually, they do find an answer on how to fix it. It takes them some time. And it takes us some time. Speaking of time, I believe that was the second wait here. So we'll wait for about a year. Let's say 40, that's 40 seconds. So we'll start that in 10 seconds here. But after a few years of work, after a year, 40 seconds. 2, 1, and we'll wait 40 seconds. And in that 40 seconds, I'll describe, this year of us sitting on the shelf, we hear passing rumors from people passing by that, oh man, did you hear Spell Points McGee is finally, fixing himself? And once he releases, his notes on how to fix himself, this change once again sweeps through the nation. Once again sweeps through the plane. There were hundreds of wizards that did this and found that it damaged their spellcasting ability, and now they're undoing it to themselves after all this damage. And after all this damage, we move on to the next turn. Collection. So who can find us this time? An overworked archivist, a library bureaucrat, a patron who desperately seeks you, or a patron who stumbles upon you. I think after all this uproar, after that damage to a part of us, we are shelved a little more carefully. And people are a little distracted for that year, It's like undoing a trend. And a patron stumbles upon us. They stumble upon these notes, and we are now shelved among, literal tomes. Well-bound, well-kept spellbooks that are clearly designed to be used as research notes. And somebody kind of almost wads us up a little bit to shove us into the shelf. And the person who finds us is like, these shouldn't be wadded this way. And kind of irons us out, smooths us out, and we all go, and we kind of, whew, thank you. I was holding that for a little too long. But how do we broaden their understanding? I think we broaden their understanding by letting them, unlike the person who found us and was naughty earlier, I think this time the patron that finds us unlocks a higher understanding of why Antrim has so much ambient magic. It's well known that the rock in the base of Antrim is important. It lets the city fly, for crying out loud. But not a lot of people have done a lot of extant research into why that rock is that way. Karsus has. And guess what we are? Karsus' notes. So this person finds us and finds the incredibly dangerous information that the rock holding up Antrim is a concentrated mass of crystalline magic. Like Final Fantasy style crystal magic embedded in the bottom of the city. And we completely broaden their understanding of magic. Their expectation of magic was that it starts and ends with the weave. That it is this field that permeates everything. And if the weave can't reach you, you have no magic. But, oh god, the crystal has a name and it's escaping me. It's in my notes. But they learning that this crystal is a concentrated mass of magic, they are profoundly changed by this. How do we broaden their understanding? Let's ask the patron table. Mistakes and misuse. Achievements and progress. Achieves breakthrough that forever changes their field. So, Karsus has been sitting on. Karsus has been sitting on the knowledge that the stone holding up Antrim is concentrated magic because he knows that that's dangerous. That's not something you let. That's not something you let happen. That's not something you let the general public know. It would not end well. This person does not have that scruple. They release this information, and they release it widely. Not only to anyone who would listen in Antrim, but to people in Curia, to people in what would eventually become Kermaston, people in places like anyone on the ground that'll listen, along with anyone in Antrim. And there are raiding parties poised to come at Antrim. And that pushes the timetable forward. That pushes the timetable forward for Karsus. He's been sitting on this ritual, making sure that everything's perfect, for a long time. And when the raiding parties are pointing themselves at Antrim, like, I'm going to get what I want, in places that are anywhere and everywhere on the whole plane, they're all looking at Antrim like, that's crystalline magic? You have no idea what I could do with that. You could go anywhere that, you could travel to other planes, like beyond our understanding of plane shift. You could travel infinitely with a concentrated mass of magic to be able to cast spells. You could go somewhere the weave does not penetrate and still retain your magical skill. That's incredibly powerful. So everyone is looking at Antrim. They're looking to raid the flying city of magic. And one fateful day, Antrim docks over the eventually named continent of Karsus. It was not Karsus before they docked there for this last time. But what's about to happen changes the entire plane forever. Karsus's folly occurs. And we're sitting on a shelf. We're unaware. We don't know that it happens. Antrim hits the ground, produces a giant wave of gray sand, and we're entirely unaware. We're on a shelf. We're like, oh man, somebody must have knocked something over. Oh well. We have no idea what happened. None at all. What we do know is that the 2 centuries that we're next sitting on the shelf, are long. And we realize that for these 2 centuries, we're not expanding anymore. We are now a static collection of notes. And a pit forms in our metaphorical stomach at the idea that of what that means, what that could mean for Karsus, for Antrim, for anyone. So now we get to wait 2 minutes. And in this 2 minutes, I'm going to explain a little surrounding detail. What we just heard was a basic description of Karsus's folly. I am not going to go into detail about it, because that's actually a severely major plot point for my campaign setting that I haven't revealed to my players. even just me mentioning that the city falling is what made that desert is a little bit of a spoiler, and I apologize for that. But we get to sit here for how long did it say? 5 minutes? So I get to fill air for 4 more minutes. um, but I apologize to my players if this is kind of taking the tension out of some of the things that I've been holding in suspense for such a long time. I'm trying my best to step around what I'm trying to my best to fill in some of the edges of the details that you guys know in character to kind of increase the looming horror of what just happened, of what you know to have happened previously. And of course, this is all a moot point for Raz, who plays Alviana, because Alviana, as a character, is the only person on the plane that is still alive from the time of Karsus' folly. That's not a spoiler anymore, probably. It's been explicitly stated in campaign, like, because this is a wild story. Buckle up. So, for plot reasons, I was rolling on a wild magic table from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, where magic has become unstable, and anytime you cast a spell above first level, I roll on this table. Well, the first time somebody casts a spell above first level, I roll a 90-something, I think a 99. It was some high number, and I went, oh no. So I look at the table. One random creature in 50-mile radius, something like that, gains the ability to cast Wish. I panic. No one on the field right now is anywhere near a 9th level spell. They were 9th level at this time, like 9th character level. They're nowhere near 9th level spells. I'm panicking. I had no idea that rolling for Wish was an option. I roll, there's a number of characters on the field. I roll a D, however many of those were. I roll, and Alviana unlocks a Wish. Alviana, in character, has cast Wish at least 2 times before. So this is the most story-appropriate roll I have ever made in my life, except maybe that counterspell in LGBT&D. So Alviana gains the ability to cast Wish once. No strings, other than the normal Wish strings. She casts Wish, and the weave lights up. You can't normally see the weave. It's like looking at an electromagnetic field. You don't see jack diddly. But Wish is the mightiest spell in any D&D setting. That much energy pulled through a character that is not meant to have that spell sets the weave alight. Whoever the goddess is, Mystra, the goddess of magic, decides that she's going to lean in and do a little storytelling. She shows through the weave the last 2 times Alviana has cast Wish. Like as though it is an animated tapestry, the world shifts, and the party can see Alviana casting Wish once in a circle of 4 people. A circle of 4 people, one of whom we've described pretty extensively today, and the other 2 I've kept vague because we don't have much beyond character descriptions and names for them in character, so I've been keeping that for my players. And a second time under a wisteria sapling. And she's reading like a scroll, like a genuine, honest-to-goodness scroll, and she's talking and talking and talking and talking forever. And then finally, Alviana opens her mouth and casts Wish. And I neglect to remember the exact wording. I have it written down somewhere. And when she casts Wish, all 3 of her, through time, cast Wish at the same time. And the world shifts. The world is no longer unstable as it was. And it is akin to spending a luck point in Monster of the Week, personally. Anytime someone playing Monster of the Week and I'm the DM spends a luck point, it is a cutscene. the entire scene stops, the camera pulls out, and it is a cutscene. And I did the same thing with Wish because it felt appropriate. And I literally wrote in advance like a small scene as a cutscene for this because I really enjoyed it. I might publish that on like AO3 or something when the campaign's over. There's a bunch of stuff I might actually publish on AO3 once the campaign's over. Anyway, I've talked for an entire minute longer than I should have, but we've been sitting on a shelf for 2 centuries. What does that do to us? Let's check the timetables. So timetables: mistakes and misuse, renown and notoriety, disrepair and mishandling. Disrepair. We get to pick 2 of these. So over time, you survive a disaster in the library. That is literally a thing that just happened to us. We survived the falling of Anchine. We are in the archive somewhere. But we are marred in some way. Like, we're sitting on the shelf, we're fine. Spells over time can rot. And luckily, the spells that rot first are the spells that unlock spell points. That's already been damaged beyond repair, but the magic in the ink rots. And we produce a few, I believe the term is inklings. Little blobs of ink that are sentient and eat magic and cause problems on purpose. And that chunk of us is even more permanently lost. And one more time. Let's see here. Time, renown, and notoriety. Oh, somebody just pinged me. Excuse me. Oh, a raid. You could tell I haven't set up the raid settings. That's still Left Shark. Hey, it's Aaron Smith Audio. What's up? Hello. We have a follow that didn't load correctly. DR 5866. Welcome to the Igloo. Let's go. We got a raid. I was gonna raid you, and I turned out to run longer. What the heck is this? We are playing Archived. This is a solo tabletop RPG game, which essentially amounts to an improv prompt. I have been yarning for an hour and a half about a set of spell notes from my D&D setting. Good evening, Arno Quendi. I dropped by the other day, didn't I? After Paper Cuts, I went and said hi. You were playing like an interactive fiction type thing? Yeah, that was a good time. Anyway, we're playing Archived. I'm having a great time with it. I have been completely derailed from the scene I was describing. I was about to pick another time damage. Let's say over time, access to use. Okay, yeah, that I think that literally follows what's also happening. Over time, access to you is restricted to a select few, who is and is not allowed to benefit from you. So obviously, when Anchine falls out of the sky and creates a desert, that limits access in a severe fashion. But people like Anchine. And over the ruins of the old city, a new college is built. And the ruins of the old city are called the Elder Archive. This is where everything that was in the former floating city lives. Whether it retains the information it had or is just rotting down there, nobody knows. But you have to be able to take care of yourself to get down into the Elder Archive, and that's just a safety measure. You know, spells rot over time. Goodness knows what's down there. You know, there could be elementals, there could be spell rot, there could be anything down there. It's not clear. You know, these spells can set themselves off over time, and so the board essentially of the new College of Anchine states that you have to be an adventurer and you have to be able to take care of yourself down there. They're not responsible if something eats you. And that severely limits who can show up to read us. If I didn't make that clear. We're playing as the document, by the way. Underground City sounds awesome. Let's explore. Let's hope somebody picks us up off the shelf and we can explore. But that severely limits who can see us and who can interact with us, and that kind of makes us sad. You know, we're a sad little pile of scrolls right now. So last 2 turns here. Choose a keeper from below and address the prompts. Then choose one from the patron tables and address those prompts. Lastly, answer one of your article questions as your keeper returns you to the library. Ooh, I forgot to answer article questions about the last 2, so we're going to answer an article question because I have large brain. Article questions. How do you feel about your patrons? No. Over time you become well-known. Your patron had a question only you could answer. Did you prove them correct or incorrect, and how did this impact their academic standing? We were definitely the only way someone could have figured out that spell points exist, and we did prove them correct. They were suspicious about it for a long time, and that did impact their academic standing, as we've mentioned previously. They were very, very, very popular for a while until they realized the negative effects, and that made them particularly unpopular. Also, I think my raid text is broken. I will have to fix that off stream. My apologies. I've never had a raid while I have these existing these particular notifications existing. So I'll have to fix that. I'll get around to it between streams before paper cuts probably. Anyway, I know exactly who I'm picking for the next person to find us, because I just do, because of reasons. Okay. The patron that finds us is a patron who desperately seeks us. They are seeking knowledge of any kind. They made a deal a long time ago that as long as they were finding their patron more knowledge, they could live. And as part of that deal, they're looking for knowledge constantly, and they're desperately searching anything new. Because everything in the Elder Archive, their patron seems to know. And that is until they find us. We're sitting on a shelf. The well-kept books next to us have gone feral or rotted to mush many time ago, and we're still fine. For some reason, the disarray of our organization stops whatever this rot is setting in as quickly. And this person finds us. This person has a name. Their name is Stimzilin the All-Knowing. And I'll type that in the chat. Stimzilin, if I can spell it right. Stimzilin. Oop. Stimzilin the All-Knowing. And people, that was not his name from birth. Stimzilin the All-Knowing. It was always Stimzilin. He was not one to take on some kind of persona based on his name alone. But he happily accepted the title of All-Knowing, because his patron was feeding him as much information as the information he was feeding his patron. And sure, occasionally you'd find a little more blood around him that was necessary, or there were strange eye-shaped stones every now and again, but nobody batted an eye at that. Sure, he's a little eccentric, but he knows what you need to know, after all. And Stimzilin has become desperate. He's been getting weaker recently, because he hasn't been finding anything new for his patron. And he is desperate to find something, anything. And he finds us on the shelf. And his patron lights up. Because whatever force conspired to make him able to give Stimzilin these gifts also removed some knowledge of his past life. And so Stimslin finding these notes, finding us, finding Karsus's research notes, makes for a huge payday. It is incredible. Karsus is so excited to find that someone found his notes. Whether that applies to Stimslin's patron or not, that's up to interpretation. But Stimslin grows greatly powerful off of this. So powerful, in fact, that he steals Karsus's research notes from the Elder Archive. He steals us. We are taken, spirited away for a while. And once again, locked away from the public eye. And we sit on a shelf. And Stimslin finds that in amongst us is not only the ritual that caused that folly we discussed earlier, but also ways to escape his patron. And it takes him a while. It takes him a long time. But he has plenty of time. His patron's given him plenty of time. And he takes that time and he divorces himself from the pact he made and takes on an unholy life. He still has the gifts that his patron has given him. And he has life unending. As long as he can feed. And unfortunately for everyone else involved, him feeding is not like a vampire feeding. He's eating knowledge. And that damages us. That damages us. We are diminished. How greatly, how little, it's not clear. But whatever he eats, it makes Mystra, the goddess of magic, smile on us a little more. Something about us that has changed. Something about, it's not clear anymore. We don't have the idea of our sense of self after all this time left alone. And so when Mystra smiles on this little treasure trove of knowledge that we are, she basically just delivers us to our next patron, an overworked archivist. Sure, it's not the same archivist that we had made fed up with their job so long ago, but it might as well be in the way they carry themselves. Wait, no, I forgot the waiting. Rather, after that destruction, we sit on a shelf for about a year before Mystra decides, through her whims of fate, despite being the goddess of magic and not fate, that we're suitable for the general public. So we get to wait 40 seconds, starting now. And I'm going to fill that time just talking, you know? I'm very happy to have everyone from Aaron Smith Audio over here. Thank you so much for the raid. I so rarely get a hold of those. And I very much appreciate it. This is a really good night to drop in on. With paper cuts, like I said, it's a bit difficult to jump in on. If you haven't caught an episode or two, you don't know where we are in the book. It's a little hard to follow, even if you know the book. So that's part of why I'm doing this. It's also just because I love solo tabletop RPGs. I love improv prompts. I've been library. Don't pick at that. Thank you. I've been yarning for nearly 2 hours about this. This is so fun. We're definitely coming back to Archived, man. This is a lot of fun. I'm enjoying this a lot, and I would double enjoy it if I was not constrained to existing lore of my D&D setting. If I was just like, yeah, I'm a vial of DNA sitting on a scientist's shelf. That'd be cute. Anyway, we've waited. We sat, and we are we are dropped on the desk of an overworked archivist. They became fed up with their work because they wanted more of the Elder Archive. They are displeased with how the Elder Archive is being handled. They think that the higher-ups are just letting it rot down there. There's uncountable, unknowable knowledge down there. This knowledge comes from a time when Ansheim was a flying city, moving from place to place to trade freely, while every other place in the plane was bound to the ground as a city should traditionally be. And they feel that the Elder Archive is, for lack of a better word, taking on a mind of its own. They've been finding tunnels that have been expanding out of the front, so to speak, of the Elder Archive that weren't there. That weren't there with the original city. You know, they've looked at what little chunks of blueprint remain, and that's not been there before. Whoever's making these tunnels, they are planning something, and it's not going to be pretty. And they warn the heads of the university, like, this is bad. This is not going to end well. You need to do something. And they don't do something. So the archivist just becomes fed up. They're just like, well, if I can't stop all this knowledge from disappearing, what sort of archivist am I? Apologies, by the way, my cats have acquired the Zoom. Yeah, boys? Is it Zoom hours? They're like, yes, maximum Zoom. Yeah, just be careful. I don't want you to break anything. They're usually pretty careful. But this archivist is just burnt out, fed up. And then they find us, sitting on their desk. No explanation. No understanding. They don't know why. But they find us sitting on the desk with a note. They find us sitting on the desk with a note that says, get rid of me. Don't use me. Consider it a favor. And I'll pay you back for it. And the archivist, who is, fed up with their job, says, sure, why not? They're already letting all that information at the bottom of the archive get destroyed. What's one more pile of scrolls? And one fateful day, something happens to us. We're bound up quite carefully with a little red bow, some very fancy looking twine. It glitters with gold and silver. And in Magnus, leave the wall alone. I'm trying to tell a story. And along with us is a vial of gray sand. We don't know where it came from. Nobody explained it while we were sitting on the desk. But we are bound tighter than we ever have been before. We've usually been a loose collection of scrolls and paper, bestowing information wherever we can, despite our disarray. And they bind us up with twine that feels pretty magical. And then we blink. We've never really blinked our metaphorical eyes before. We've never had a need to. We're a document. We take in the world around us. But something compulses us to blink. And when we open our eyes, our surroundings are completely different. The world is pitch black. There are stars, dots, glowing somethings around us of all colors, and they're quite distant. The little vial of gray sand rattles unhappily. And it oscillates our pages a little bit, and it upsets us too. We have no idea where we are. What are these tentacles doing here? Why does it sound like the world has ended? Where are we? And we don't know. And while we're floating in space, while we're trying to decide where we even are, we look back on our history, the people who have affected us, how we've helped them, how they impacted us. From that young archivist who was so excited to order the world, who found themselves burnt out, who, from the many researchers that we enlightened to be concerned about Karsus, or concerned about what he's doing, or the person that we arguably saved the life of, the undead life of, for an uncountable number of years. Or even that one last archivist who, for a time, seemed fed up with life. And we get, unknowingly, unwittingly, as a pawn for the goddess of magic herself, we became a token exchanged for a boon. And we don't know what we gained that archivist, but we do know that we're somewhere we shouldn't be, somewhere that will probably never be found again. And it hurts. But we try not to focus on that. We've helped so many people, right? Right? As a second part of the epilogue, we describe how we've fallen into disrepair over the years. If this is the end of your story, describe how you're finally removed from circulation in as much or as little detail as you're comfortable with. If you wish, describe how the librarians attempt to restore you, and then choose one of the options below. So we've described the end of our story a little bit, so let's rewind a little bit back to the restoration work that this fed-up archivist does on us before flinging us into a land and a time unknown to stop our forbidden knowledge from leaking into the world. What do? Well, first of all, they do their best to remove any traces of rotted spell work. That mostly involves cleaning all of the stray, spell components and coffee and tea and Dragon's Horticopia and whatever other alcohol they've been drinking around us off of the pages, and it feels fantastic. It's very nice to be pampered, to be pressed upon that way, and it's very nice. They kind of iron out all the wrinkles in our pages, and it's very pleasant. It's like a little day at the spa. And then they start organizing us, which feels very strange. We've always been a disorganized pile of scrolls and spells and notes. So to be collated, to be understood to some degree, we almost expect that it makes us, that we're going to get used again. Someone's going to actually use us. They're going to bind us into a book and we're going to be useful. Maximum speed library, by the way. And we're looking forward to that. We're bound into a loose, almost book. If there were covers and a better spine than the loose sewing that was used to bind us, it would be an actual book, an actual real spell book. Wow. And the magic twine feels very nice. It's very pleasant. But then we get a little nervous as soon as that vial of gray sand is involved, and then we know the rest of the story from there. But hey, at least while we're floating around in space, we're pampered, we're pleasant, we're understandable if anyone ever finds us. Does anyone ever find us? I'll leave that up to you all. Personally, I'm putting this document where it is in the setting to give a potential MacGuffin for a high-level campaign. It is not the intended MacGuffin for my players, but it is one. When I finally release all my notes about this campaign setting once I've finished playing with my current set of players, because they are actually a part of the setting by the time I'm done, is the plan. But anyway, us as Karsus's research notes float in wherever we are. Space, untethered by gravity, some strange plane. Nobody knows. And eventually we stop thinking. Until someone finds us again. Admittedly, I stole that last line from JoJo, but it's just so good. Alright, that has been our first playthrough of Archived. I had an absolute blast playing this. I'm playing it again. There's no argument here. I'm playing it again. It's great. I would suggest going and getting it. Let me grab the link for that. Archived. I should have had this link on hand, but you know how I am with preparation. This game is called Archived, right? The heck, where did I find this? I definitely got this out of that bundle, by the way. Hey, remember that bundle? That's a great way to find that. This is from the Solo But Not Alone bundle on itch.io. This is Archived, and it's, as we've all experienced together just now, a way to tell stories about a document and how it traces its path through the world. And it's a grand old time, and I'm playing it again. So if you missed a good chunk of this particular playthrough of Archived, definitely give it a play. This bundle is raising money for an anti-self-harm campaign, I believe, which feels like a worthy cause to me. It's like $400 worth of game for like $10. Sorry, I'm making sure my cat over there, Magnus, yeah, you see his little head there, is causing allowed problems and not disallowed problems. Because if they're disallowed problems, I have to get up and stop him. Anyway, here is the link to Archived directly, if you don't want to spend money on the bundle, but you really liked Archived. I really like Archived. I'm coming back to it, and I'm playing a different type of document next time. Maybe I'll play a scientific specimen. Maybe I'll play an art piece. Maybe I'll play a memoir. Who knows? But it's a lot of fun. I'm definitely playing it again, and I had a great time this evening. We'll probably start making a habit of playing these solo tabletop RPGs on Monday nights, just because I've got the time for it. And I've got a big old pile of them coming. There's a couple Wretched and Alones in there, if you guys enjoyed my previous work on Wretched and Alone. There's a couple that are based on cards, like you draw cards out of, like physical playing cards out of a deck and move your way around the board that is generated that way. Those look like a lot of fun. I'm gonna need to rig up a way to see the table for that, but that shouldn't be too bad. What else is there? There's several based on generating magic items that look like a lot of fun. But there's a lot of really fun things planned here. And it won't exclusively be solo tabletop RPGs. I might be able to get one-shot groups together for this night. I'm 100% down to get one-shot groups together. I'd love some Monster of the Week one-shots in my life. I have a couple other one-shot type games. Bonsai Brawlers is the one that immediately comes to mind. There's a whole series of those. You play houseplants, and it's adorable, and I want to play the heck out of it. Anyway, I have rattled on enough. I almost ended with the Paper Cuts outro. That's not tonight. See you all later in the week for Paper Cuts. Anyway.